Hey everyone, welcome to Broadband Deployment News. Some breaking news today. The Biden administration has announced how much each state and territory is going to be getting from the BEAD program. Be right back. We'll take a quick look at the numbers. Thanks for joining me. Rick Husey here with Broadband Deployment News. So the announcement came out today. Nothing surprising. Because we already had the map. A lot of people had kind of dove into the numbers and looked at how much each state was supposed to get, because it was a fairly easy calculation. Basically, every state in the BEAD, from the BEAD program is going to get a percentage of funds based on the number of unserved locations that they have in their state or territory compared to the rest of the country and territories. And then each state gets $100 million, and then depending on how many unserved they have compared to the rest of the country, then they get an amount on top of that, which could be just barely anything or quite a bit. So this is the, you see here the release from the NTIA right here. Biden-Harris administration announces state allocations for the $42.45 billion high-speed internet grant program as part of Investing in America agenda. The investing, yeah, there you go. So they have lots of names for these things. So part of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, Broadband for Everyone, and all kinds of names. And there was announced that there was going to be a announcement here by President Biden and Vice President Harris at 11:45, but it's still showing, as I'm looking at it, unless I didn't. Let me try refreshing this, see what happens. Yeah, it's still showing as will begin shortly. So as quite often happens with press events and announcements of this kind, it is delayed. So if it pops up, I may bring it on the screen here. Oh, well, look at that, right as I'm watching it. I got people in here. And let me put my earpiece in so you can hear it.
Distinguished guests, the President of the United States, accompanied by the Vice President of the United States and Mr. Jeff Say.
Looks like the audio is coming through. My volume down. I do see desktop audio playing right here, although I can't hear it myself right now. Now I've got it.
Indeed.
And I'm back. I'm not plugged in all the way. So lots of clapping.
Good morning, everyone. Please have a seat. Good morning.
So you could obviously be watching this yourself.
By saying that,
and there is a link to this down in the description.
Thankful to all of the leaders who are here for the work that has occurred and will continue to be done to do what is right on behalf of the American people and working people in our country. I want to thank our President, Joe Biden, a true champion for the working people and families of our nation, and a tireless fighter for affordable and accessible high-speed internet, not just for some, but for all. I want to thank the members of the cabinet who are here and members of Congress, as well as the advocates and community leaders who have fought for years to connect every corner of America with high-speed internet. It is good to be here with all of you. So I will begin with a brief story. Last year, I visited a small town in Louisiana called Sunset, Mitch, a rural community of about 3,000 people outside of Lafayette, a region where some of my extended family live. Sunset is like many other small towns in America. It has a main street with a bank, a church, and a donut shop. And Sunset is similar to many rural communities for another reason. Almost 40% of households in that area do not have high-speed internet. in large part because the fiber optic lines that connect most Americans to the internet just never made it to Sunset. But here's what that means. In Sunset, I met with parents who cannot apply for remote work jobs because they do not have a high-speed internet connection at home. In Sunset, I met with entrepreneurs who struggle to start or grow a small business because they cannot get online. And I met with students who, when public buildings were closed during the pandemic, had to sit in the parking lot of a local library just to submit their homework over Wi-Fi. And these stories are not uncommon. Today, 24 million people in our country do not have access to high-speed internet, either because they cannot afford the monthly cost of a plan, or because they live in communities that have not yet been fully connected to fiber optic networks. But let us agree, in the 21st century in America, high-speed internet is not a luxury, it is a necessity. Every person in our nation, no matter where they live.
I'm going to come back to this and see if they get into any details. So for right now, let's take a look at the details. So again, this was not surprising. Since we had the figures, the NTIA was basically working off the same figures that were in the FCC map that was released on May 30th, showing all the unserved locations throughout the country and those that for each state. So nothing seems to have changed from the estimates that I saw. So, for example, I know Georgia was about 1.3 billion. We had when I was talking to Lori Ringler at Arkansas, she had also seen that it was about $1 billion Arkansas would be getting. Texas was the number one recipient, about 3.3 billion. We had California. Let's see, California. That looks very similar to the numbers I've been seeing. So these are the numbers on here. So I linked to this as well as to that video that I was just watching. So come back to the video here. We'll take a look at that.
I, like millions of other Americans, face an all too common issue: lack of reliable high-speed internet. 2 years ago, my family and I purchased our home in Boston, Virginia, in Culpeper County, just an hour and a half southwest of Washington, D.C. The house had everything we wanted: enough space for our 3 girls to run and play, beautiful views, and wonderful neighbors. We were told we would have access to internet, but the day we moved in, our ordeal began, as service providers told us we would have to pay tens of thousands of dollars to run a line to our house. Their service stopped a half mile down the road. What we ended up...
This is a common problem that he's talking about here, where you've got a house that's got a long driveway problem. So he's very close to broadband, but he would have to pay, when he calls the internet service provider, they tell him he has to pay, as he mentioned here, it could be tens of thousands of dollars to get that line extended to where they are.
Commerce and entertainment. We are not alone. We now know that in Culpeper County, there are 4,300 unserved homes when it comes to high-speed internet access. Thankfully, our county has started a broadband initiative to serve the underserved. We don't have it yet, but I know it's on the way thanks to folks here today. The reality is that reliable, affordable, high-speed internet is a utility, not a luxury. So today, I'm excited to be here to share my story and to thank this administration who will get our country up to speed and into the 21st century. It is my extreme honor to be able to welcome a person who has made this issue a priority and will improve the quality of life of all of our lives. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States of America, Joe Biden.
please. Thank you. Thank you, please. Thank you. Although I like the fact Joe Manchin's standing all this time. He's a friend. Hi, Jojo. How are you, pal? Before I begin, let me say a few
Senator
words
from West
about
Virginia.
the events in Russia. Excuse, I'm a little of an allergy. The situation began to develop as it did. I directed my national security team to monitor closely and report to me hour by hour. I instructed them to prepare for a range of scenarios. I also convened our key allies on a Zoom call to make sure we're all on the same page. It's critical that we're coordinated in our response and coordinated in what we to anticipate. They agreed with me that we had to make sure we gave Putin no excuse. Let me emphasize, we gave Putin no excuse to blame this on the West or to blame this on NATO. We made clear that we were not involved. We had nothing to do with it. This was part of a struggle within the Russian system. I also talked at length with President Zelensky of Ukraine. I'll be keeping in contact with him. I may be peeking him later today, early tomorrow morning, to make sure we can.
Well, I'm assuming he's going to get to the broadband remarks, and this sounds important. But so anyway, again, I've linked to the video that you're watching right there. That is the announcement of the broadband funds, and then also a link to the NTIA press release if you want to check that out. So again, that's breaking today. Numbers, like I said, look very similar to what we are anticipating. So this is, I don't want to say anticlimactic, but I think we were all expecting similar numbers, and it was just a matter of when the NTIA was going to come out and give the final numbers so the states could get moving on this. And the numbers look, I think, about what everybody expected, and it was actually early. They were saying that it was going to come out on June 30th, but making the announcement this morning. So thanks for joining me. If you're not subscribed to our channel, go ahead and click the subscribe button, click the little bell to be notified when I'm live. And I'll be live with any other broadband deployment news that we have this week coming up. Hope to see you then. Bye-bye.